On today's 30-minute music marketing, singles versus EPs versus albums. What should you be releasing as a DIY musician?
Cue the title sequence.
30-minute music marketing for musicians who want to get better at marketing their music.
Hi, I'm Greg.
Hello, I'm Sheldon, and this is 30-minute music marketing, the show for independent artists and DIY musicians who want to get better at marketing their music. Thanks very much for listening to this episode, watching this episode, however you consume it. We appreciate your attention. I'm going to apologise now to the listeners / viewers. Last week's episode, it was rather long, wasn't it?
Yes.
We're only doing a deep dive this week, so it'll
today
be much
a deep
abridged.
dive. Right, yeah, last week's, to be fair, we probably
week's.
could have put it into 2 episodes. And for those who did watch it,
we could have got 2 weeks out of that.
I know, and I forgot to edit my mum calling. I was trying to get it up, pardon the expression, in a very short period of time.
You can't get the staff, viewers. You can't.
I
get
know.
The staff. So we're having a deep dive today, Greg, and we're looking at how you should be releasing your music. So, namely, you've got, and you've always pretty much had 3 variants. You've got singles,
Yep.
you've got EPs, you've got albums.
Yep.
So we're just coming to the end of 2019 and going into 2020. How exactly should you be releasing your music? Which one should have priority? Should you even bother with albums, etc., etc.? I think ultimately it all depends on who you are. There's no hard and fast answer, and it all depends exactly who your audience is. But by running through all these points, we can maybe give the people at home some food for thought. See how they might, be in relation to all these ideas that we're chatting about amongst ourselves.
So we're talking about release strategies in a fast-moving world.
I was reading an article today from Mark Mulligan from Media Research, and he's already looking at 2020, and he's having a look at how playlists are going to fare once more of our listening gets driven to intelligent, what they call intelligent speakers. Your Google Home and your Alexa.
Although I did see something yesterday that I think Google have suggested that you warn people that you have an Alexa unit in the house. So that really does mean that they are listening.
Wipe your feet. Please give some sort of disclaimer policy as people walk through the.
You will be recorded at any given point.
Yeah.
So for all those paranoid people out there, you thought it was bad with video cameras.
Your phone listens to you. You only have to say something like Twix, and before you know it.
It's really weird. The fact is, this it seems to be listening to what you're listening to as well.
Anyway, let's not get into privacy. So we're going to have a look first at singles.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about singles many times on this show before, and we know that by releasing a steady stream of new music, that's generally a good thing. Each one of those singles is considered to be an outreach opportunity. It's an opportunity to open ourselves up and introduce ourselves to a new audience, as long as we've got a music marketing plan in order to market that piece of music and not just literally slap it on Spotify, cross your fingers,
hope for the best,
and then hope for the best. So that's
then moan
okay.
when nothing happens.
And you could also argue that the more times you release something, then specifically you could argue that you've got more opportunities in which to get maybe put in a playlist, whether that's a user-generated, curated playlist, or whether it's an algorithmically generated playlist. That could be, there's something to be said for that. And as more of our listening habits have tended to move towards the playlists, it's also fair to say that there's generally only one track. So if you've got 2 tracks or 3 tracks on a single, there's only ever going to be one that's going to end up on a playlist. And indeed now on Spotify, you can ask Spotify to look at one particular song on each of your releases for possible inclusion on one of their curated playlists. So you could also argue that if you're doing any more than one, you're almost like wasting songs, because there's only ever going to be one that's going to be included on a playlist.
Yeah.
So don't include any more than one piece of music on a quotes single. And that's the best way to operate. So if you're releasing a single, don't release any more than one piece of music on that single.
So not even a double A side anymore?
There is a rule of thought that if playlists and getting exposure via playlists is your priority, then you don't necessarily need to.
Right. Okay.
And again, if you're in a studio and studio time costs you money, then again, let's keep it lean and mean. The thing about, I know there's people like us who say, oh, release as much new music as you can. But, we do also have to factor in a cost consideration. I think you're lucky if you're doing anything on the lines of maybe EDM, rap, pop. They're all much cheaper to produce than if you're in a band environment.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, do it on your laptop, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but I think the cost of band recordings is considerably less than it used to be.
Or less than it used to be. However, if you can do your beats on a laptop and then just go into a studio, or even to the back of your bedroom, that's a lot cheaper to produce your finished music than having to get your drummer to do 10 takes and what have you. So there's an argument for maybe one-track singles, trying to release them as often as you possibly can. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's a good way to start in terms of your release strategy. So moving on to EPs, what is the point of an EP? Well, it may well be that if you are somebody who enjoys writing songs and write a lot of songs, then you probably want in some way, shape or form to get them out there and for people to listen to them. So moving from just one song to maybe an EP for us, people of our generation, that's always been generally regarded as like 4 songs, would you say? 3, maybe 4?
Sometimes 5 if it included a remix, but yeah, I'd say usually 4.
And what you can argue
Excuse me.
might be possible in this day and age in a digital world is if you've got single 1 and then a couple of months later you release single 2, what you could do for single 3 is you could release an EP which not only includes single 3 but also like recaps and includes singles 1 and 2 on there as well. If you include the same ISRC code on this theoretical 3-track EP, it doesn't matter whether you get plays on singles 1 or 2.
So you're assigning the same ISRC number to 3 songs?
Not to 3 songs, but if you've got single 1, single 2, and then single 3 is an EP which contains single 3 plus single 1 and single 2.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where singles 1 and 2 get played on their original single release or on the EP release.
Oh, so you're actually putting an ISRC to the body of work rather than right. Okay.
As long as it's, as long as it is the same recording.
Right. Okay. Right. Gotcha. So that means, one thing we might need to actually tell these people, they might not be familiar with what an ISRC number is. Do you think they will be? Because
I'm sure they will be.
It's just a catalogue number. So when you have your music played, they know who the owner is.
It's assigned to an individual recording. So that could be a strategy. You release individual sort of singles, and at some point you almost like bundle them up. I mean, it may well be that you can throw in an additional sort of remix as well,
or an acoustic track.
Yeah, and it could well be that if you get to that particular state and you get sort of say 4, theoretically 5 tracks on a digital EP. Now's maybe the time to even think about going into the world of physical, going into a duplication house and getting that EP physically printed. Because there's not really much point. I know some people, I have seen some people do it, burn CDs with one sort of single on, but that's sort of messy and sort of counterproductive. But if
considering the cost of the medium is the same, whether it's a 5-minute song or a 70-minute album, it's probably not the most cost effective for one item. But a body of work like an EP.
Yeah, if you've got like a modest bundle of tracks, now's probably the time to move from a digital only world to a physical world, and for 4 or 5 tracks, you'd be able to get maybe 4 or 5 quid on the merch stall, perhaps.
Yeah, and if you do like a limited run and you hand sign every single one, or do something that's uniquely numbered for those, it adds a certain kudos.
So that's one theoretical way as to how you might be able to introduce EPs into your release strategy. Now then, albums, Greg. people, certainly of our age, we like an album.
We grew up with it.
As an artist, albums are the thing that you aim for. Some people can argue that, got a good single or two, that's a fluke. Can you pull it off over the course of an album, getting 11 or 12 tracks to coherently sit together and to be of a good sort of an equal musical value? That is...
Are you saying all killer and no filler?
All killer, no filler, the exact words I was looking for.
I mean, there are certain bands who basically haven't varied much away from their original core idea for like 10 or 12 albums.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention any names.
No.
Oasis.
Now then, this is a fascinating fact. This came out this week. It was National Album Day a couple of days ago from when we were recording this.
Right.
But a recent study by streaming service
Is that
Deezer,
worldwide, national?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
A recent study by streaming service Deezer found 15% of people below the age of 25 had never listened to an album all the way through. That is a shocking statistic, ladies and gentlemen.
15%?
15%.
Is that really the attention span of people under the age of 25?
42% of people simply opted for playlists, either the ones that they create or the ones that are created by streaming services.
So it's almost like people are listening to radio, but not radio as in, I want a collection of just singles by a variety of different artists. I mean, do you remember... we're kind of edging into old media, formats. But
when I were a lad.
When Sony released that 100-disc CD player, so you could put your entire CD collection into it, as long as it didn't exceed 100, and then you could put it on random. And at the time, that was really, really cool because of the unknown. But now that's what everyone's doing.
So listening habits from certain people are changing. It's like you say, the playlists are very much radio. It's also referred to as lean back listening. It's
as in, you don't have to do anything.
Don't have to do anything, and also music is very much in the background.
With my iPhone, I have to literally get up and turn it down and turn it up.
I'm guilty of this myself at work. When boss Gavin isn't in, hello Gavin, hope you're not watching this, I will stick on one of my user-generated playlists, Spotify generated playlists, maybe like the new music ones, and I will let them just play me some music rather than I don't have to think who should I listen to today. It can be overwhelming. You've got all the entire every piece of recorded music that's ever been in the world. Right.
Yeah, but I'm going about this all wrong because I'm still putting an album on and listening to it all the way through.
So
a lot of times.
So try to contextualize it a little there. That's potentially how listening habits are changing. But artists do still focus on albums.
No.
Go on.
Sheryl Crow's no longer doing it. Her latest album that came out last month allegedly is the last album that she's doing.
What was her justification for doing that?
Because she said listening habits no longer reflect the way that artists create work. And as much as I like an album by Sheryl Crow, and I will continue, as a listener, I would quite happily wait another 3 years or whatever the usual is for an album and listen to it in its entirety. But now, I'm not the average listener. So I don't want to agree with what she's saying, but it's difficult not to.
Okay, but what I find is that if you're a fan of an artist, the one thing that you do look forward to is still getting the next album. If I'm if I'm a fan of Act A, the one thing I look forward to is the next big collection of songs. But you can argue that the purchase of albums now is more for the hardcore fan rather than from the general populace. But the actual size of the number of people who are going to buy your album has now decreased from your fans and casual listeners to just your fans, and you still have to service your fans.
But Sheryl Crow's audience, I can't believe, is under the age of 25. So, and she's still saying that even people like me, listening habits are changing.
Yeah, but it may well be that compared to the massive amount of money she used to make and the modest amount of money that she now makes. Maybe she's seen that drop off from an international superstar level to a modest level. If you're a DIY musician, then that drop off is potentially going to be a whole lot smaller, and the difference isn't going to be as much.
No.
And the one thing I will say is that, again, if you're if your audience wants to, and your fans want to reward you for what you do, then an album is still a pretty good way of trying to do that.
But you wouldn't, I mean, a lot of bands that I see and hear will basically work, they won't put anything out and then they drop an album.
Well, yeah, that's obviously the wrong way to do it. You know,
it's almost like the focus has been on the album right from the start, rather than leading up to it.
So, you know, single releases prior to that album. But, you know, what was I going to say? Yeah, so casual music listening has sort of shifted to playlists. Your fans are still engaged and looking for the album. But, you know, that said, I used to have a yearly album release cycle for my band, and we've now shifted to every 2 years. A, to give us a little bit of a break and to take the pressure off, but also B, because they are, you know, they still sell. And I've had people going fairly recently going, come on lads, I need some more new music. When's the album out?
The funny thing is, though, some of the fans, not long after you released the last album, they were like, "When's a new one coming out?" It's like,
give us a chance.
that was, you know, it only came out 6 months ago. You know, it's nice to be that desired, but you're like you.
So we've moved from, you know, approximately 12 months to every 24 months. You know, just because we know that it won't, you know, it'll still sell, but not in the quantities that it used to. So it's still important for your fans. But you know, the casual listener now has, because he's got that many other things, or she's got that many other things to listen to, that maybe, you know, it's not as much of a focus and a priority.
So in some respects, with all of this, it is, you know, start with singles, move up to EPs, and then move up to albums as your listener base develops and becomes more loyal.
It's funny, I was ironing a T-shirt for a festival that I appeared.
Are you
I do me ironing. I'm very domesticated. Ironing a T-shirt for a festival my band appeared at in 2013, and there was a band on the back of there, and they're just now at the end of 2019 about to release their album. They got signed a while back, but you know, they've spent quite a while accumulating that audience, and you could argue that's probably the best way to do it, because
they released singles in the meantime? They must have put some content.
They have, but you know, it's all about building the audience first.
Yeah.
So you've got an audience, and then you drop the album.
Because who wants, 300, 400, 500 albums in their garage, collecting dust?
Garage.
Sorry.
He says garage, I say garage. So yeah, so it's all about using each of those singles as the phrase I always use is an outreach opportunity, an opportunity to introduce yourself to new people, to build that audience, and hopefully you're building that up to a stage whereby you've got an audience who will, if you are engaged with them, they will go out and in good enough numbers to buy your album, to make it a worthwhile venture.
But I mean, it's almost a bit like, you know, there would be no point spending a load of time on a 7-course meal if nobody likes the starter. You know,
that's a very good way of putting it.
I'm good at these.
You're getting better at this.
I know. So, because, you know, as you put here, you know, if you release loads of singles to little fanfare, you need to slow down and spend some time marketing the stuff you've put out, rather than concentrating all your efforts on only one aspect.
Yeah. So there's no point releasing singles every 8 weeks if they're not really having an effect in terms of growing that audience. You're just releasing music to the same small amount of people. The idea is that if you release them less, you've got maybe more time and potentially more money as well to use that single as an opportunity to grow that audience, and then cumulatively keep doing that, and once you get to the end, then you can potentially release that album. Unless you're in the pop world, when you know, if your audience are under 18, that you know.
Well, if they're under the age of 25.
Pretty tricky. It's a good job all my fans are
A little bit older than that. Yeah, it's an odd one. I mean,
it is, but it just goes to show how
much has changed.
How much has changed in a very small number of years.
So yeah, that's.
And it will. The thing is, it will continue to change.
Yeah, it's obvious. I think more artists are going to be changing their stuff. The more established older artists are going to be changing, possibly.
So, have you changed your release strategies over the past couple of years?
Actually had a release strategy?
Let us know in the comments below.
Remember to smash that subscribe button.
Ring that bell, whatever that means. Tell your friends about us. Share this video. That'd be great. Share it on the Facebooks. Retweet the YouTube URL on the Twitters.
Let's build up. Ask us questions.
Ask us questions. If there's anything you want us to chat about and give our advice on, you can do so. If it's YouTube, in the comments below, or on Facebook, you can do that. You can tweet 60-minute music marketing, my Twitter page. Maybe we'll stick that in here as well.
Okay, and also hashtag Music Marketing Monday.
Music Marketing Monday. Happy Monday, everyone. Unless Greg is putting this out and making me put mine out on Tuesday. It's his fault, by the way. His fault.
It was me trying to upload a 6 gig video file because it was like an hour.
Excuses. Listen, thanks very much for watching or listening to the show. We appreciate your attention, your eyes and your ears, and we will see you next time.
Catch you later.
Cheers now.
Bye.